I think we can actually begin to make an alliance with the best parts of ourselves for a better future instead of war with the worst parts of ourselves. What's up, everybody? It seems like the world's spinning a little faster and faster every day, and I think we live in a time in history where you can't deny that problems exist. And it feels like we're getting increasingly desperate for solutions as it seems like what's being taken place in the world, what the governments are doing, what any institution seems to be doing as of late, isn't really creating the solutions we're looking for. And I feel like seeing that we're becoming increasingly more desperate. And as you hear the old adage that people are doubling down on their narrative, doubling down on their story, and not really, it's not that they're not including others, but they're not as open-minded as you would say. It seems like everybody's backing further and further in their corner, like a cornered animal, and we're getting desperate just in the same manner. But I feel like a lot of that doesn't lead to a good place. Taking that to its logical conclusion, if we keep doing that to each other, we're going to push ourselves into a mini revolution. And I'm not saying that that's inevitable or that's what's going to happen, but we're seeing that more and more and more as we're getting more aggressive and attacking each other, sometimes physically. And we're not leaving a space for each other to even cooperate or communicate within. We live in a time of history also where we can't afford a revolution. We can't afford any sort of mass violence or disruption of the natural order of the way things are working. And I don't mean they shouldn't be changed, but we can't just destroy buildings, go out and attack and kill each other like the old forms of revolution. First of all, that's messy. And our entire power grid, if it goes down, we're all screwed. And typically in history, every time there's a revolution, those who do the revolution don't do very well. First of all, most of them die. And then their progeny, their kids, and those who come after them, those first generations, don't do well either because they got to rebuild everything that they tried to fight for. And furthermore, we've seen that we're way too interconnected for that. Back in 2008, when I guess you could say it was the economic collapse, but there was at least a dip. It's not like everything fell apart, but just that economic drop impacted the whole world. Hell, Greece almost didn't make it, right? So what are we gonna? We can't just overthrow something. It needs to change, but it needs to change meaningfully. And as we've all begun to see, something needs to start happening quick. And so what I'm calling for is a revolution of the mind. And what I mean by that is Professor Bret Weinstein from the Evergreen College incident, I hesitate to call it an incident, but what was going on over there, he had a quote that I like, or here's the gist of what he said, is the idea of what if it's the case that we're seeing an infinite number of symptoms to a few problems that actually need to be solved. So it's not that every problem we're seeing is actually a problem in itself, but maybe a symptom of a deeper issue. And I think part of that issue is the idea of a narrative. And I know we hear this pushed around like the media has a narrative, so-and-so has a narrative. They're pushing their narrative. And it's like, yes, we all have narratives. That's a blatant fact about the way things work and the way we work. A narrative's absolutely necessary. Consider it another way of looking at it is your worldview. You have certain ways about the way you think based off your genetic makeup, the way your brain's structured, what's your circumstances you grew up with, which highlights some of the things you value. It's going to have to do with the circumstances of your life, where you're headed, what your possible futures look like, what you want for your family. Do you have a family? All these things are important as far as your narrative. What the issue is narratives seem to be too rigid. And I think part of that is they're too surfacey. They're not rooted in deep values. So it's more like a shell that you're using as a shield to block others from, instead of a core group of beliefs and values that we can all connect on and use as tools to come together and work with each other. And I think part of that is we don't truly understand what we believe or even ourselves. We don't take the time to really dig into ourselves and find out, well, why do I believe that? So our narrative provides a litany of solutions to all the problems that it points out. But in doing so, it misses others and misses other solutions. So inherently, we're finite in what we see and what we can experience. And so therefore, our narratives are finite. They're incomplete. And so therefore, the solutions and problems that they point out are also incomplete. Hence the necessity for us to work together. So I believe if we go deeper into ourselves on what do I believe, why does that point out as a problem to me? Why does that solution solve for me? And back as I mentioned about revolutions, the other problem with a revolution in the traditional sense as we understand it is it's rooted in a lot of resentment. You must pay for the suffering you have caused to me. And so therefore I can get the solution that my narrative points out. But that doesn't always work. It increases more suffering for everyone else for probably a marginal gain on your end. So I believe we should go deeper into ourselves to understand, well, what do I really believe and why? And from there, we can come together and really connect on those deeper levels of what's important across all narratives. And then let your individual narrative sort out the details for you and what's individual to you. So in the same manner, if I'm basically calling out for action, that if we can deeper understand ourselves, what we believe, what we want, why, how I operate, if I can understand the best and worst parts of me, I can then see and notice and understand that in you as well. And from there, I think we can actually begin to make an alliance with the best parts of ourselves for a better future instead of war with the worst parts of ourselves. And I think that's what we're doing right now, is having a war with the worst parts of ourselves. And it hasn't gotten us anywhere yet. So we might as well try the other. Thank you for watching. Looks like that's about it for today. If you liked what you saw here, go ahead and subscribe down below, as well as hit that like button. If you'd like to check out some more of what we've done in the past, you can check it out right here as well. If you have any questions, requests, or ideas, feel free to join the conversation on social media and see if we can get a discussion going. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you all soon again.